Okay, here we are. Welcome back to Dudeco, I guess, right? We're going on a little bit of a ride today. Wanted to put out a video on the channel, so I'm going to tell you all a story. It's a pretty wild story. It's about how I grew up in a cult. A real legit ass cult. You can Google it. And so let's go for a ride. I'm going to tell you about this. It's pretty crazy. I'm not the best storyteller, but I think you'll find it pretty interesting. So let's cruise around. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I'm just gonna kind of aimlessly cruise around. We had a successful video last time with the audio working great, so I'm assuming it's still working fine. I hate to tell this whole story and then find out that it was bad audio or something. I think we'll head straight down here for a while. Right next to the fields. So I grew up in a fundamental Christian household. My parents didn't grow up that way. They converted, I believe, soon after they got married, in their late 20s, early 30s. And then they had me. I was their firstborn. And it was soon after that that they somehow were seduced into this cult called IBLP. Institute for Basic Life Principles. If you want to Google IBLP cult, and it'll be right there, you'll be able to see it. And its leader is named Bill Gothard. He was the leader, and it was basically just a fundamental Christian cult. And he was the leader, and he kind of set the rules. He had written all the curriculum. So what we would do growing up is we would go to their semi-annual conferences. They were held in Sacramento, and it would be Bill Gothard and his posse, I don't even know, his cabinet of elders. And they would do, talks for the parents, while the kids went off and did different activities. There was a subset of IBLP for the men called ALERT. A-L-E-R-T, ALERT. And I believe it stood for Air Land Emergency Response Teams, I think. And it was basically the cult's militia, but I didn't realize that till way later on. But there was a part of that was for the kids of the parents who were at this conference. They were busy being brainwashed in their different conferences, and the kids would go off, the boys would go off to the ALERT camp during the day. And there they would, it was, some of it was fun. We did like rappelling, kind of like wilderness survival kinds of things, search and rescue kind of drills. And it was always really hot, it was in Sacramento. I remember it being really hot and kind of uncomfortable. There was, activities, but interspersed in there was, what the fuck is this guy doing? Was, various, Bible studies and stuff like that. So that was what the kids would do, but, there was older guys that were actually like the Air Land Emergency Rescue Team or whatever, and they actually did help. In like hurricane relief and stuff like that. But recently I kind of put it together. It really seemed like that was the cult's militia, and that who knows what Bill Gothard's plan was for those guys. And then the girls would go off and do something else, something girly, something, you know, it was very conservative, so I'm sure it was something like, you know, homemaking stuff, you know, sewing, you know, cooking, training to be a good wife, you know, that kind of thing. So we would go to these conferences, I don't know if it was once a year, maybe twice a year, but we went to maybe a total of 4 or 5 of them. And I'll give you just the basic breakdown of some of the beliefs that Bill Gothard taught. The main one, I guess, or one of the main ones, was the umbrella. You got the umbrella diagram or something like that. Anyways, it basically meant that first there's God. God is the ultimate authority. Then comes the father of the family. Under the father comes the mother, and then under the father and mother, the children. So the father is the man of the house. He you know, makes all the rules. He is the final say, you know. But Bill Gothard was above the fathers, so he kind of put himself in between the fathers and God, almost as like a conduit between God and the people. So he would, you know, basically what, you know, the fathers would obey Bill Gothard and God, and everyone else had to listen to the father. And if you came out from under that umbrella, for example, you know, you were a kid and you talked back to your parents, or, you know, did something sinful, you were out from under the umbrella and you were vulnerable to Satan's attacks. So it was really a way for the fathers to have, you know, full control of the family, and the wives were really there to raise the children and to do as they're told. It really is, you know, kind of a very I don't know, old school way of looking at it. Kind of fucked up, really fucked up. There was no, like, you know, the mother and father are a team, you know. It was, you know, mothers listen to their husbands and submit to them. Some of the other things that were taught were modesty. You know, the women were really not supposed to show hardly any leg. They wore very long skirts, you know, long sleeves a lot of times too. Some of them even wore head coverings. We never did that in our family, but I remember seeing it around in the conferences and stuff. You know, definitely no sex before marriage. That was a huge no-no, and it is for most Christian sects, but it was a big one. But so there was also a homeschool curriculum that was kind of a subset of IBLP called ATI, Advanced Training Institute, and this was what we used in our home because I was homeschooled, and my parents decided to use the curriculum from IBLP to kind of as a structure to school us at home. Now this is crazy. So they had curriculum for all subjects, even math, and their math booklets were called these wisdom booklets, and even like the math was usually like Bible related, you know, Bible related math, which is kind of crazy. So it all went back to religion. And thankfully my mom did supplement that with other things, you know. She had us read good books. Not completely only Christian books, but, you know, we had read some classics. That was good. Music, I forgot to mention music. We weren't allowed to listen to any kind of secular music. Even music with a beat was considered satanic. Bill Gothard said something like anything with the drum beat is, you know, can be satanic. So I grew up listening to classical music. a little bit of like Christian rock, I guess you'd call it, as I got a little bit older. But in the beginning, when I was a little kid, I really just remember classical music. So what I would do as I got a little bit older is we had a Walkman tape player or a CD player, and it had an AM FM radio in it. So I would put in a classical CD, you know, some Bach or some Chopin, and I would pretend to be listening to that, but I was actually listening to the FM radio, you know, the rock station, you know, really anything. And then at night, I would lay in my bed and I would listen to Loveline. I think some of you are definitely probably familiar with Loveline. It was a late night radio show that would come on with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. And they would get calls from young people, teenagers, early 20s, really anybody, but it was mostly young people, with questions about life and sex and, you know, puberty and growing up and all this stuff about, you know, abuse, and that was really my only connection to the real world. I was in a safety bubble. I didn't know anything about anything besides what was in my bubble. So hearing some of those things blew my mind. I was learning things that my parents didn't want me to learn, that's for sure. And it really, you know, in a way, Loveline raised me. As far as like getting to see what the real world was like. That was huge for me. So Bill Gothard, turns out, was a real creep. There's actually a documentary on, I think it's Netflix, called Shiny Happy People, and it's about the Duggar family, who were, it was the family in the 21 Kids and Counting show. Maybe it was like 23 Kids and Counting, I can't remember, 18 and Counting, something like that. It was about this huge family, and it was a Christian family, and they were in IBLP. They were really tight with Bill Gothard. And this documentary goes over how their son, one of the older Duggar sons, had molested 2 or 3 of his sisters. They tried to cover it up. You know, I don't forget what eventually happened to the kid. But there were some real fucked up things happening in that house. And turned out Bill Gothard himself was a creep. He would kind of groom and hire these young blonde women into being his personal assistants, or, you know, working closely in his home base. I forget what he called it. It was like whatever the home base was for IBLP. He would groom, you know, he would say, I really feel that God is calling you to service here at IBLP. And he would, you know, make them feel like they were all important, and they would work for them, and then he would say inappropriate things, touch them inappropriately. I don't think he was ever, I don't know, I can't remember if he was ever charged with anything. There's, you know, multiple women that came forward and kind of, you know, told the story. I don't think IBLP is really functional anymore. I mean, I'm sure it is to some degree. It's not like it used to be. I don't think they still do the conferences. I'm not really sure. It seems pretty dead. I'm sure some level is still going on. So I grew up very, very sheltered, and it was, I feel, very damaging to me. You know, as soon as I got a little bit older, early teens, middle, you know, 15, 16, I started, you know, thinking for myself and realizing that I saw a lot of hypocrisy and really fucked up shit in the church and IBLP and how I was raised, and I started rebelling, and I stopped going to church. I started dabbling with drugs and drinking a lot. Drinking was really the only way that I could be social. I was trying to make friends, real friends, outside of my circle with normal kids that came out of the public school. There was a park near the public school, and I would go there and sit and wait for them to get out in the afternoon, and I would try to make friends. And I found that drinking alcohol helped me do that. It took away my social anxiety because I had a lot of that. I was very awkward, did not know how to interact with people, and the alcohol really helped with that. I made some friends, and I started living life, but I made a lot of mistakes, you know. I kind of had the mentality that I had gone so long just experiencing this tiny little portion of life that my parents had chosen for me, that I just wanted to experience everything. The good, the bad, I just wanted it all. I wanted to experience life, and I wanted to see what it was all about. And that led me down some kind of darker paths, but I still wouldn't change anything, you know. I had to see those things for myself, you know. And I did, and it, you know, I feel like I've recovered a great deal. Uh-oh. I feel like I've recovered a lot. That was weird. From that, from growing up that way, but it still affects me in some ways. It does. So that's me growing up in a cult. Watch that documentary, The Shiny Happy People, or maybe it's Happy Shiny People. I can't remember. That talks a little bit about it, but it's more about the Duggar family. It's not so much about IBLP, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube you can watch, and you can hear the eyewitness, or the victims' statements, the women that were abused by Gothard, and it's pretty fucked up. Now, luckily, my parents now have realized what happened and that they were a part of a cult. They have admitted that. And I recently talked with them about it. You know, I was just curious how they got into it. And they pretty much said that they were kind of bamboozled by Gothard and his, you know, what he was promising. What he was promising was a perfect family that was, you know, well-behaved children and just you know, so they never had any ill intentions, that's for sure. They wanted the best for their family, and they thought that was it. So I don't blame them. And, you know, I was angry with them for a little while, but not anymore. You know, they just they were doing what they thought was right, and fortunately, it was not. So that's basically it. I'm here, I drove all the way into Orchid, and I'm not sure what's down this way. Let's check it out. About this phone mount, this RAM mount, and it works great, but then I was reading all these reviews of people saying that the vibration from the bike was destroying their phone's camera. So now I'm kind of second guessing that and wondering if I should even be using it. I don't know. I don't really need it. I've never been up this road. Let's see what's up here. Yeah, oh, here's some cows. The only reason I really would want it is if I'm using the maps on my phone. It's nice to just have them right here, kind of direct where I'm going, and that's really the only time. What you can do is have your one AirPod in, or both, and have the maps be read to you out loud. You know, it'll give you turn-by-turn instructions. So that's kind of the way around it. Private road, I'm going to turn around here. This looks cool. Don't lay the bike down, don't lay the bike down. Did not put my feet down. Nice. My visor kind of gets fogged up if I'm not moving very fast. I'm wondering if there's like some anti-fog spray or something I can put on the inside of it. There's Old Orchid. I think down to the left is the Orchid Golf Course, and then to the right will take you somewhere. I'm not sure. Which way should we go? Let's go left. Watch out for the gravel. Let's accelerate. Accelerate. My hands have been hurting a lot less, and I think it's because I'm not gripping the handlebars as tightly, as strongly. Going straight, yeah. Blue jeans for the first time in a long time. I hardly ever wear blue jeans, and I'm noticing they're not great wind blockers. The wind's kind of just going right through them. If I'm on the freeway for a long time, or I'm going on a longer ride, I'll wear my armored pants. They just don't have many pockets, and that's the one thing I like to have is pockets. There's the golf course. Rancho Maria. I think my girlfriend and I are going to go for a ride later. She's going to hop on this. I'll hop on the back there. Ever since I put on the sissy bar, she's liking it way more. She's tiny, and her arms, it's hard for her arms to reach all the way around me. She felt like she was going to slide off when I didn't have that on there. And it totally makes sense. Like, imagine I accelerated quickly and she wasn't hanging on. She could absolutely just slide right off. So with the sissy bar, she feels way more comfortable. And she doesn't have to grip on as hard. She can kind of just loop her fingers in my pockets, and she's good to go. It's actually lightly sprinkling right now. We're gonna turn right. It does look a little stormy. I haven't ridden in the rain yet. Doesn't sound like the safest thing to do. I fucking love riding motorcycles. Can't believe I waited this long in my life to get one. It was kind of very sudden too. Like literally one day I was sitting there, I was probably at work, and I just thought, you know what? I'm tired of, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. This is what started it. I started dating my girl, and she lives about an hour away from me. And I was thinking, man, I'm going to be using a lot of diesel, driving my big truck over there and back all the time. I wish I didn't have to do that. And I considered getting like a little beater car or something. little four-banger to butt around in and get around town on the freeway over to see her. But then I thought, you know what? What's even cheaper than a little car is a motorcycle. Ooh. And then the thought grew and grew. I could realize my full potential. You know? I'm a biker type guy. I've always have been. I've always been a cool guy. A cool guy that rides a bike. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the law. He just wants to go fast. He wants to feel the steel between his legs. Oop, don't pop out there, lady. Anyways. I feel like the older I get, the more I'm becoming my true self. You know what? I used to care. I used to care what people thought of me. I think everybody does when they're younger, to different extents, or to different whatever. But yeah, I really used to care. And I remember there was one particular day. I was probably like in my very early 20s. I don't remember what I was doing, but I remember having the thought, you know what? I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I'm done. I'm done caring. And it was so fucking freeing, man. And for a while I would catch myself still caring, you know. But then as time went on, I really stopped caring about anything. Not about anything. I really stopped caring about what anyone thought of me ever. And it's so nice. It is so nice, man. You just be you. You just be you. Yeah, see, when I'm sitting here at the stoplight, my visor fogs up unless I crack it a little bit.